VSiN's, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show, only on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hour number 3 of the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show. I'm Tim Murray here in lovely Las Vegas, joined as always by our MVP, Rich Gannon, and it's 9 o'clock Pacific, noon Eastern, and that means we get the latest from behind the counter, joined by the owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports, Derek Stevens, fresh off a trip up to lovely Boise, Idaho. You and the team out there on the Smurf turf on Friday night. Looked like a fun little trip for the guys.
Yeah, it was great. Well, good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, we had a great Friday night. Got this weekend kicked off nicely. It was a little difficult to take an 8 a.m. flight after being in downtown Las Vegas on Halloween, but we powered through. Great city. Really, we were very, very impressed. And then we got back here Friday night, so I think we're in good shape. Good shape there. So we're ready to go. Been a big weekend so far.
All right, let's jump right into it, Derek. 191 entries still standing in this Circa Survivor contest. The remaining contestants pretty evenly split, I saw, on who they like this week. Just your thoughts on what we've got left here in this Survivor contest.
Yeah, Rich, we're down to 191. And this week, it's pretty spread out. There's a total of 9 different teams that were selected.
Wow.
The Cincinnati Bengals, once again, are the number 1 selected team.
Ooh, buddy.
Now, realize everybody that's bitter about the Bengals, they are no longer in the contest.
These folks haven't been bitten by the Bengals yet.
Right. So the Bengals are the number 1 selection with 44 selections. Number 2 is New Orleans on the road in a divisional game. Number 3 is the Baltimore Ravens with 39 selections. Then it's the Vikings later on tonight. Eagles and Bills, and then it's rounded up by Chiefs, Titans, and Commanders. So 9 different teams selected. I think this week is a very, very difficult week, and I think this is a week where everybody's praying a little bit. There's a little bit of well, who are we going to go against? When else would we use them? That's kind of how I see New Orleans. Like, I don't know when else you would use New Orleans. I don't know when else you would use a couple of these other teams. So I think that's a little bit of the theme of Week 9.
Well, that was Denver last week, right? So when else would you use the Denver Broncos? And they were able to get there. And I guess we're kind of at that point, too, now, Derek, where it's just let's just blindly fade the Carolina Panthers, and that's what you're getting. New Orleans on the road. I mean, think about it for this perspective, right? The New Orleans Saints have lost 6 straight games. They're bringing back their quarterback who's been out a month, and the number 2 selected team for Survivor are the New Orleans Saints. It just tells you where we are with the Carolina Panthers right now.
Yeah, it tells you about the Carolina Panthers. It also tells you, like, in Circa Survivor, you've got limited availability.
Right.
Availability becomes more and more important week by week.
All right, let's look at the game line or total that's moved the most this week, Derek.
Well, I think what we've seen a tremendous amount of action relative to some of these injuries. Rich, yourself and Tim were just talking about some of these actives.
Yep.
The line that's moved the most up and down throughout the week has been the Rams game. Obviously, a lot of injury information. We opened it as a Seahawks as a 1-point favorite. By Tuesday, the Rams were a 1.5-point favorite. By Thursday, we're back down to pick 'em. Last night, Rams are up to a 2, and now we're at a 1. So this has been all over the place. The Nakua injury information has been obviously a big deal. The DK Metcalf. So this is injury dominated. The other game that's had a tremendous amount of volatility, and I think this is more weather related than anything else, has to do with what people thought the Lions game at Green Bay. At one point, it was going to be pouring throughout the entire game. Then I saw some different reports. Maybe that's not the case. So that's been the other game, Rich, that's had a massive amount of action and a lot of movement creating that action throughout the week.
Yeah, Detroit and Green Bay right now at circa 2.5, minus 110 both ways. And just looking at some of the line history, this is what's got to be tricky. We talked about it a bunch last week with the uncertainty of Jaden Daniels in Washington, Derek, where you guys wanted to keep the line up. You always want to keep things actionable. Earlier this week, looks like you guys got as high as 5 in favor of Detroit because of the uncertainty with this groin injury for Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, these are the types of games where our philosophy is we want to take the bets, but obviously what that does is that leaves you vulnerable to the middle. And, at the same point, we figure as long as we build a big enough base throughout the week, we're going to be all right. But yeah, when you have that type of volatility, it always adds a little bit of extra risk in the mix on a Sunday.
I really love about this weekend, guys, is the fact that for some teams, we talked about Cincinnati's kind of a gotta-have-it situation, but Derek, those Cowboy fans are gluttons for punishment sometimes. They're at 3-4. This is a gotta-have-it game for them. Just your thoughts on what's happening in that Cowboys-Falcons game down there in Atlanta.
Well, we've seen Falcon money. We opened 2.5. We went to a 3. Went to a 3 minus 15. We're at a 3 minus 20. If we had to make a move, the next move is Atlanta's going to 3.5. That would be a very serious move for us because we become very vulnerable on getting sided. But it's been all Atlanta money. Cowboys are beat up. There's an element. I think one of your guests earlier today was talking about how Dallas runs the second highest percentage of man coverage, right, and Kirk Cousins just dices them up. So everything in this matchup leans towards Atlanta from the betting perspective.
It's funny when you look over at the Circa Million selections that you guys put out on social media at Circa Sports, Derek. 1,080 on the Cowboys, 1,050 on the Falcons in the Circa Million. So it is split almost right down the middle. Derek Stevens, owner and CEO of Circa, joining us here in studio. Derek, it was interesting last week when you were here in with us, you guys said that the Ravens were a massive need against the Cleveland Browns. You mentioned it was all Browns money, and that was very different from other sportsbook. It kind of made the rounds on social media. I'm curious where you guys are at in this 1 o'clock window. Is there a particular side that you're looking like you're going to be cheering for more than another?
How about I answer that in 60 seconds? So
60 seconds.
Let me pull it up right here because this has been so volatile this morning. I'll have something for you in 60 seconds.
Love it. We'll run through. Let's run through the games here while Derek looks it up. You've got Tennessee laying 3.5 against New England. The Chargers just moved out to a 2-point favorite against Cleveland. New Orleans 7-point favorite against Carolina. Miami catching 6 at Buffalo. We talked Dallas and Atlanta. You've seen Atlanta money come in, bumping out the 3 minus 20. Denver is catching 9 against Baltimore, and Vegas is catching 7.5 against Cincinnati. The other one in that early window, Washington and the Giants. You just threw up your hands. So what do we got?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, yeah. Everything that I'm just advocating for. I love the Falcons today.
Okay.
So what's our biggest need? The house's biggest need is we need Dallas. Right, the house's second biggest need, which is conflicted for me, is going to be Green Bay today at home, and the third biggest need is going to be the Raiders against the Bengals. And because I'm rooting for all of our Circa Survivor people, I'm going to be conflicted all day long.
All right, Derek, let's talk about some quarterback changes. We mentioned Derek Carr back under center for the New Orleans Saints. What a good week for him going up against the worst defense in football. But the game that's got my curiosity is that Colts and Vikings game tonight here in Minneapolis. How did Flacco at quarterback affect the line in this one? Anthony Richardson was an accident waiting to happen, a real liability in the passing game for the 4-4 Colts. This, in my opinion, is an opportunity for the Colts to get back in that race in the AFC South.
Yeah, you're right on, Rich. We opened this at 6.5, and it's been all Colts money. I mean, we're down to a flat 5. At this point, I guess five's kind of a slippery number, so 5.5 is about the same thing. But it's been all Colts money. The Flacco change was advantage Colts. People believe that at least today, Flacco increases the probability that the Colts can win the game. Obviously, Richardson's a longer-term project. And maybe this works out pretty well. I mean, this reminds me in baseball, like what the Tigers did with Spencer Torkelson. They sent him down for a couple months, and then he came back. Maybe this works out for the Colts and Richardson in the long run. But as of today, Joe Flacco starting quarterback increases the probability that the Colts could upset the Vikings.
Yeah, that number right now, 5.5, pretty much across the market and here at Circa. Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of Circa and Circa Sports, joining us. Just let us know, Dallas, Green Bay, and the Raiders, the three biggest needs of the house today. I saw a bunch of reports from various sports books talking about October being a great month for the better. How did you guys ultimately fare in October? Was it a tough month for the house?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to have some perspective here. The month of September was probably the greatest month of being a bookmaker in the history of bookmakers. I mean, September was unbelievable with the first 4 weeks of the NFL, the way college played out. It's public information. What the revenue was in Nevada and other states, it was unbelievable. October was just a fine October. It wasn't good. Wasn't
the
bad.
bettors need a win every once in a while, Derek.
Agree.
We can't just get our butts kicked at you guys all the time.
No, I'm glad. I was worried. I mean, if things carried on the way they did in September, we wouldn't even be in business here by December because nobody would play. This was unbelievable, September. But no, October was far more of a bettors month. That's for sure.
All right, real quickly, Derek, 30 seconds. The game that took the biggest bet this week.
The game that took the biggest bet so far this week, we have taken we took a few six-figure bets on the Commanders, actually, money line this week.
People love the Washington Commanders. We will see. The Giants, terrible at home. Only a 4-point dog. Interesting to note that. Hey, Derek, always appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
There he is, Derek Stevens, the owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports. There's a look at beautiful Circa Sportsbook as it is getting ready. We're less than an hour away from kickoff of Week 9 of the NFL season.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Monday on Follow the Money, we'll recap a great weekend of action, NFL and college. Can the Chiefs stay undefeated? And we love a tight end prop in the game. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Always great to catch up with Derek Stevens, and boy, it's funny, Rich, when you talk to people like Derek, who are first and foremost, he's a sports fan, right? He loves his Detroit teams. He loves the Detroit Lions, but he's also a business owner, and he's also a sportsbook owner, and he today is going to have to cheer for the Green Bay Packers from a business standpoint. So it's always great to talk to Derek about it because he wants his Lions to win, but he also doesn't want to lose a boatload of cash. So it's interesting to note that Dallas, Green Bay, and Las Vegas will be the three biggest needs for him today, and that didn't really make him all that happy.
That's funny, though. I learn something every week when he comes on the show. He's brilliant, and it's funny because he's so passionate about his Lions, and to see them go to Green Bay this week, and he's hoping for them to win, but at the same time, he's trying to manage the situation. It's a little bit of a conflict of interest for our guy, Derek Stevens.
A little conflicted, I think, is an easy way to put it. That's Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. It is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show. We're less than 45 minutes away from those 1 o'clock games kicking off. 8 games in all in that 1 o'clock window. Let's run through real quickly some notable inactives today. We've talked about it a bunch. Brian Robinson Jr. out for Washington, meaning Austin Eckler certainly could have a bigger workload. Zeke Elliott, a healthy scratch with Dallas, didn't travel with the team. Amari Cooper dealing with a wrist injury. He's out today for the Buffalo Bills. T. Higgins out for the Cincinnati Bengals. Officially active Drake May for the New England Patriots. Cleared concussion protocol yesterday. He is officially active. He will start. Tony Pollard for the Tennessee Titans. He is good to go. Xavier Legette, the rookie down in Carolina. Trayvon Diggs, corner for the Dallas Cowboys, good, as well as Zach Martin, Joey Bosa, Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens, and Denzel Ward for the Browns. They are all active today. So let's keep it rolling, Rich, and let's get to the Ravens and Broncos. This is a best bet for you. You like the Denver Broncos here, and I can't blame you. I mean, you look at this Ravens team. I love the Ravens, but they continue to have these head-scratching losses when you think back to the Raiders in Week 2, when you think back to last week as a 9-point favorite on the road against the Cleveland Browns. So Denver's catching 9 here against the Baltimore Ravens. Why do you like Denver with the points here in this spot?
That's a big number, and it got my attention earlier in the week. I think the Ravens are still smarting from that loss to the Browns, while Denver is riding high. They've won 5 of their last 6. I think the Ravens' offense is a thing of beauty. They're first in total offense, second in scoring. They're averaging over 30 points a game. The key to it has been Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Jackson is actually on pace to be the first ever quarterback with 4,000 or more passing yards and 1,000 or more rushing yards in a season. At the halfway point, Tim, he's my NFL MVP. And Derrick Henry leads the league in rush attempts and yards and rushing touchdowns. So, they're a handful right now. They added Deontay Johnson this week. So I love the Ravens offense. My concern is their defense. They're currently giving up just under 300 yards a game through the air. So a little bit of an issue defensively. I love this Denver offense. We talked about Bo Nix and what he's done in the month of October. They're 3-1 in the month of October. He threw 9 touchdowns, had just 1 turnover. And their defense has been solid all season. Number 3 in total defense. Number 3 in points allowed. They're giving up just 15 points a game. I think they're going to give the Ravens all they can handle at home. When I just saw that number, it just got my attention early in the week.
Yeah, one thing I would look at potentially if you wanted to bet this game, you're looking to back the Ravens. I think first half could be a look, as Michael Lombardi mentioned in the last hour with us, Rich, where you look at this team, they're just having trouble closing out these games, but I think the Ravens could get off to a good start here. They're 6.5-point first half favorites. You mentioned Lamar Jackson. He is a co-favorite to win the MVP with Josh Allen, both sitting at 3-1 at DraftKings Sportsbook. No MVP talk in this next showdown, but hey, as Brent Musburg always says, the tickets cash the same. We got the Patriots and the Titans, and this number's kind of bounced around a little bit. 3.5 now, right now, less than an hour away from kickoff. Consensus sitting at 3.5. Drake May will start. Tony Pollard good to go for the Tennessee Titans. Number sits at 3.5. The lowest total on the board today is this game, 38.5 between the Patriots and the Titans.
Yeah, I still like the under, if you believe that. Look, 2 teams that are really desperate. They've combined for 3 wins. New England's offense, they're dead last in total offense and passing offense. A big reason why, I think, is the changes up front along the offensive line. The lack of playmakers at wide receivers. They tried to develop a young quarterback in Drake May. I think the Titans' biggest issue is the quarterback position. It's been a liability all season long, regardless of who plays quarterback. And the bad thing about it for the Tennessee Titans is their defense is actually pretty good. They're number 1 in total defense. They're number 1 against the pass. I think with both offenses struggling to score points and both defenses being the better units with their respective teams, I really like the under in this game.
Will Levis a healthy scratch in this game. It has been a rough go for Will Levis, who started the year as the starter. Some just absolutely brutal turnovers there. Patriots plus 3.5. Brent Musburger said he liked that play. I actually took them in a contest play at 3.5. Hey, folks, celebrate the best time of year for a sports bettor with our Sports Equinox special, and you'll get full VSiN Pro access, not free, to everything we do through May 1st. That includes our daily best bets, including all the selections from the Circa Friday Football Invitational hosted by Matt Humans, betting splits with trends and analysis to make you a smarter bettor, and our exclusive betting content on college football, the bowl season, believe it or not, right around the corner, the rest of the NFL season. College hoops starts up on Monday. Right now, we've got our college basketball betting guide out there, NBA and NHL regular seasons, and of course, the NFL draft will take place before May 1st. It's all for less than $20 a month. This offer does expire tonight at midnight, so don't miss out. VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. So we've talked about this game a bunch because of the injury to Brian Robinson. He's out today, but Washington 6-1-1 ATS this year. The Giants have been a nightmare, especially at home. Washington owns the best cover margin in the NFL, beating the market by 9.4 points per game. They're a 4-point road favorite today against the New York Giants, Rich.
Yeah, I really like them. Look, they're riding high after a dramatic come-from-behind win over the Bears last week on the last-second Hail Mary pass from Jaden Daniels. And at the halfway point in the season, Jaden Daniels gets my vote for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's been amazing. His 72% completion percentage is second best in the NFL, and his 425 rushing yards, second most behind Lamar Jackson. As for the Giants, they're 4 games below 500 despite leading the NFL with 35 sacks this season, 5 more than any other team. And the real issue is offensively, they just can't score points. They're 31st in points per game, just 14.6 a game, and they're dead last in red zone touchdown percentage. And we talk about Daniel Jones on the show each and every week, Tim. Just 3-11 his last 14 starts. And his last 6 home starts, he's thrown no touchdowns and 8 interceptions. I really like the Commanders on the road.
Yeah, this is going to be a hold-your-nose spot for me. I'm going to take the Giants here. Why? Because I like pain. And, I look back at when these two teams played, Rich, back in week 2. The market was Washington minus 1.5 at home. It's now Washington minus 4 on the road. Look, we know that home field is not what it used to be in the NFL. The Giants have stunk at home. But I just think a divisional game, ultimate buy low spot. And by the way, I'm surprised that Derek didn't mention the Giants being a big need. Over at DraftKings on our betting splits on VSiN.com, 82% of the bets are on Washington. That is the most public side of the weekend. So Washington getting a lot of the action, and I totally understand why, but I'm going to take a home divisional dog here in the New York Giants. Speaking of a home divisional dog, the Carolina Panthers, this New Orleans Saints laying 7 on the road at Carolina. Derek Carr is back, Rich, dealt with that oblique injury for about a month. Saints have dropped 6 in a row and are a touchdown favorite here against Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, the good news for these two teams, someone's probably going to win today, right? Saints on a 6-game losing streak, while the Panthers are on a 5-game losing streak. New Orleans is the first team ever to lose 6 straight games after winning their first 2 games by 20 or more points. They get Derek Carr back. For the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young once again gets a start, and his 2-17 record is the second worst in NFL history. Panthers actually have not led in the fourth quarter in any of Young's 19 career starts. And I think you look at Carolina's defense. There's a reason why Derek Carr wanted to come back and play this week, Tim. Carolina is dead last in the league in points allowed, 33.9 points a game. The Saints are going to win. It's a question of by how much in this one.
Well, 40 of the 191 folks remaining in Circa Survivor are hoping that you are right, that they do win. I mean, look, that's just where the Carolina Panthers are at, Rich. And, we talked to Derek about it. You can only play so many teams. You can only use them once. But the New Orleans Saints, losers of 6 straight, 40 people have put their Circa Survivor on the Saints on the road to beat the Carolina Panthers. That's where the Panthers are at right now.
Yeah, it's a divisional game on the road. Think about that. And as you mentioned, Tim, you got a quarterback that's coming off an oblique injury, and everybody likes the Saints, and they can't play defense. During the 6-game losing streak, they've given up almost 30 points a game.
What could possibly go wrong for those folks in Circa Survivor? That's Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. We'll run through our best bets. We're less than 30 minutes away from kickoff. Folks are filing in here at Circa. Week 9 of the NFL season, first Sunday in November, is here.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
You're watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We got 8 games starting in 30 minutes. It is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show. That's Rich Gannon, 2002 NFL MVP. I'm Tim Murray here in Las Vegas, watching the board light up, taking a look at some of the movement. Rich, as we've gone through all the games, and we're going to get back to our best bets here in just a moment, when you look at the slate today, 15 games in total, 8 games in the early window, 4 in the afternoon slate, and 1 tonight. I'm terrible at math. That's actually 13. My apologies. What game intrigues you the most? It's kind of open-ended, but what do you think is a game that you're going to learn the most about today?
Well, I think there's 2 games that come to mind. I think that Green Bay-Detroit game. These are 2 really good teams. It's a battle for first place in the NFC North. I only wish that, Jordan Love was 100% healthy and we'd see Goff and Love go at it, but that's not going to be the case. I'm curious to see if Jordan Love can actually finish out this game, but that's a game that certainly has my attention, as does the Denver and Baltimore game. Look, I think people are asleep at the wheel with this Denver football team. It's a lot of points to give up, even at home. And I think when we looked at what the Ravens did last week against the Browns, that certainly opened my eyes.
Yeah, those are 2 games, no doubt. We heard from Derek Stevens. The house will be cheering for the Green Bay Packers in that spot. I'm so fascinated by that game, and I want to, you mentioned it earlier, and it kind of, maybe it went under the radar, but you talked about Detroit, and, Brent talked about it, how this is the first game they are playing outside, but you're not necessarily buying into that because Detroit does practice outside, so it's not like they haven't braved any of the elements. So is this a little bit to do about not a whole lot? What do you make of Detroit playing their first game outside here this afternoon?
Well, look, this is a billion-dollar business. We've all been to these NFL practice facilities. They've got beautiful indoor facilities. They've got 4 or 5 outdoor grass practice fields. Certainly Detroit is used to, practicing in these type of conditions. The challenge is obviously going to Lambeau. Very difficult place to win on the road. It's a good offense. It's a really good defense that takes the ball away. The reason why I like the Lions, and they're a different team, Tim, is that they can play in any weather, they can win any way, and they can run the football, right? When you look at David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, they've got a really good offensive line, and they're good in the kicking game. So to me, it's not like they're a team that's built to play on indoors on the turf, and they have the speed and all, but they can shift gears. They can pack you in, and they can pound you and knock you backwards in the running game. That's why I really like the Lions in the NFC.
Yeah, and when you look at Jeff Hafley coming from Boston College, where he was the head coach. Previously to that was the Ohio State defensive coordinator. They've been pretty aggressive. He steps in replacing Joe Barry. Xavier McKinney has been unbelievable. He's been a ball hawk out there. What do you expect from the Packers defensively today to try to slow down this high-powered offense of Detroit?
Anytime you go against Jared Goff, you want to move him off the spot, right? He's so deadly accurate when he has a clean pocket. He can set his feet. The rush that affects him the most is not necessarily off the edges. It's right up inside in those A and B gaps. Push up in his face. He wants to be able to step up in the pocket and trust the protection. So if you can knock that line backwards, that's key. The other key for the Packers defensively is you cannot give up the explosive plays, and that's in the kicking game as well. But defensively, make the Lions go the distance. In other words, make them go 80 yards in 10 or 12 plays. Don't make it easy for them, and be stingy down in the red zone. Force them to kick field goals in that part of the field. Look, the Packers have no issue scoring. If Jordan Love is able to play in this game, I think the Packers will put up some points. I think this could be a high-scoring game despite the weather in Green Bay.
Yeah, total sitting at 48, one of the higher totals on the board. That's Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. Before we revisit our best bets, I wanted to circle back to this because I do this every week when it comes to college football. I think, especially college kids, they get emotional, highs and lows. Look at Texas A&M. They beat LSU 2 weeks ago. They go on the road to South Carolina, and they get smashed in the second half there, lose by 24 points. The reason I bring that up, the Chicago-Washington game and the way that it unfolded and how it ended. Washington wins on the Hail Mary. They've been talking about it all week. It's been the biggest play in that city, maybe in 30-plus years since they won a Super Bowl, Rich. How do they respond against the Giants? And then how do the Bears respond after losing that game in the fashion that they did? They score a touchdown with less than 30 seconds to go. It looks like they're going to get a huge win on the road, and then they lose in that fashion. How does Chicago respond at Arizona, and how does Washington respond at MetLife Stadium?
It's a great question because as professionals, we're always told to turn the page, move on to the next play, move on to the next game, learn from your mistakes. You know, I saw an interesting stat. I wish I had it here. We have so many stats that we get inundated with during the week, but teams that have won a dramatic kind of come from behind Hail Mary game the following week haven't played as well. So I'm curious to see what Washington can do on the road against a pretty good Giants defense, particularly when it comes to rushing the passer. So for Chicago, I think it's about, quickly turning the page, learning from the mistakes, and going on the road against Arizona and playing your best football. That's not going to be easy. Arizona and Kyler Murray are playing some good football right now. They've won 2 straight. But that's the challenge, Tim. The toughest part of our business is the ability to handle adversity, but also the ability to handle success and to be able to quickly turn the page and move on to the next opponent.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I was looking for that number as well, and I'll get it for you here in just a second. But before I get you that number, let's run through, Rich, your favorite plays of the week, and I'll give you mine as well. So what are you looking at this week from a betting standpoint?
I've been talking about this Broncos-Ravens game all week. Jameis Winston and the Browns really exploited the Ravens' weakness, and it's their pass defense, which is the worst in the league right now. The Broncos come in with a ton of confidence. They've won 5 of the last 6. Bo Nix is playing well, and so is Denver's top 3 defense. I'm taking the points in this one. I like Washington to cover. We've been talking about this one as well, Tim. Giants have been terrible at home, and the big reason why is they can't score. They're 31st in scoring. Jaden Daniels is having a historic rookie campaign, and Dan Quinn's defense is starting to figure things out. 2 straight games where they've yet to allow a touchdown. I really like Washington on the road, and I like Jacksonville getting the points in Philadelphia. Eagles have won 3 straight, but when you really look under the hood, they've got some problems. The passing game has been sporadic. Defensively, they've been very inconsistent. Besides Trevor Lawrence, and the Jags have played better here the last 4 weeks. Their scoring number has gone from 15 to 28 points a game. And I think the Patriots-Titans game has me intrigued. 2 teams that have combined for just 3 wins. The biggest reason why is because their offenses aren't very good. Both struggle in the passing game and in situational football. And their defenses are better than the offenses. You combine that with struggling quarterbacks, I'll take the under in this one.
All right, I found the stat. It was courtesy of Evan Abrams. He put out, since 2000, Rich, that touchdown was the 6th touchdown with no time left and a team trailing by 6 points or less. The last one was Derek Carr to Michael Crabtree in 2017. The previous 5 teams went just 1-4 in their next game, with 3 of those 4 losses being by 7 or more points. So I agree with you. It is normally a letdown factor that we don't talk about in the NFL, but I am curious to see how Washington fares this afternoon. And I did take some Giants plus the 4. So what could possibly go wrong backing a Giants team that has been dreadful? But they turned the page, I guess, on that stadium. MetLife Stadium got a win for the New York Jets earlier this week, so maybe the Giants get it as well. So my plays this week, I like the Cowboys quite a bit here in this spot. I know Derek will be cheering for the Cowboys. It's funny talking to Derek. Derek really likes the Atlanta Falcons personally, but the house is going to need the Dallas Cowboys, so he's conflicted there. But I took 3.5 with the Dallas Cowboys. I do think this is maybe a backs against the wall desperation spot, however you want to define it. I took the 3.5, which is still out there at some shops. I like the Giants plus the 4. Hold on to your nose special, divisional home dog, and then a teaser, Cleveland up to 7.5 against the Chargers, which actually is moving against me. Some 2s out there now, and then I paired it with the Green Bay Packers out to 8.5. Not the best teaser leg for Green Bay because of the high total sitting there at 48 there. I also like the Cardinals a little bit, and we can maybe talk about that game in just a moment. Hey, folks, take your betting to the next level by playing the ponies on First Bet. From Santa Anita and Gulfstream to the Kentucky Derby and Preakness, First Bet has you covered. Sign up at firstbet.com. That's the number 1, ST, sportsbet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200 to claim 20% rebate for your first 60 days up to $200. Once again, head on over to firstbet.com today. The Breeders' Cup over the weekend, so I know a lot of people were utilizing that app and hopefully using our promo VSiN200. That's Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. Just went through our favorite plays, Arizona and Chicago. Another one that I do like on the money line. Looks like you can get around minus 120 on the money line for those Arizona Cardinals against the Chicago Bears. Another game that we haven't hit on all that much, Amari Cooper out for Buffalo, now out to 6.5 at some spots, Rich. Buffalo almost a touchdown favorite against Miami.
Yeah, Miami does not play well historically on the road. You look at Tua Tagovailoa, he's a perfect 10-0 in the division against the Jets and the Patriots, and just 1-7 against the Buffalo Bills. I really like Buffalo at home.
He's our quarterback, Rich Gannon. You know he doesn't want that talking in his ear. He wants to go hurry up, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go hurry up. We're going to hit on every game before we get on out of here. It is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan. With a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
Sean Green and Ryan Kramer bring an energetic approach to sports betting to keep you entertained while sweating your bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN.
There is something to the idea of the smart teams might be zagging. You see all the best offenses in the National Football League have a fullback.
If you like defense, if you like football, how can you not be okay with 2 high safeties?
Join Sean and Ryan every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN, right here on the Sports Betting Network.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're going to spread them wide. We're going to go 4 wide. We're going to zinging around with our quarterback, Rich Gannon, here in just a moment. I'm Tim Murray. It is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show. A couple notes to pass across here. You can always tweet the show. I'm at @1Tim Murray. Rich is at Rich Gannon 12. The network at VSiN Live. We got this tweet, and he said, I'm so tired of hearing about Jared Goff and outside conditions. 2 years ago, the Lions, out of playoff contention, marched into Lambeau with snow and cold and won. So he's kind of agreed with you, Rich, that, maybe this Jared Goff outdoor stuff is maybe a bit overblown.
I really think that was a turning point. I remember that game. He got off to a slow start. He really came back and played a whole lot better in the second half. And they carried some of that confidence and momentum into last season. And I just think this is a team that's gotten better each and every year. I love what I'm seeing from the Lions the first half of the season.
Derek Stevens earlier this hour let us know that Circa Sports will be big fans of the Cowboys as they are catching 3 against the Atlanta Falcons. The Packers, 2.5-point dogs against the Lions, and the Las Vegas Raiders. If you want to be a sportsbook director and own a sportsbook, sometimes you gotta play around in the dirt and like some of those ugly dogs. And the Raiders, of course, at the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, Rich, we like to wrap up the show with a little up-tempo-ness, so let's spread it out. No huddle. Here we go. We'll start with one of those games where the sportsbook will be cheering heavily, as Derek wants the Dallas Cowboys. The rest of the world seems to like the Atlanta Falcons. What do you make of this spot? Falcons, 3-point home favorite against Dallas.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins and the soaring Falcons offense versus the porous Cowboys defense. Atlanta has scored 30 or more points in 3 of their last 4 games, while Dallas is allowing the second most points per game this season. Cowboys can't run it, and Dak's already thrown 8 picks. I like the Falcons at home.
I'm going to go against you here. I took the points with the Dallas Cowboys. Get a 3.5. There are some out there. I think this is the buy low spot. Desperation for the Dallas Cowboys. Some people thought it would be last week. I did not think that was the spot last week. I think this is the one to grab the Dallas Cowboys. No Deron Bland and no Micah Parsons for the Dallas Cowboys. Trayvon Diggs is a go for the boys. All right, let's go to Western New York. The Buffalo Bills right now a 6-point favorite, Rich, against the Miami Dolphins. These two teams played on a Thursday night in South Beach in week 2, and the Bills won that game going away 31-10. What do you make of this afternoon showdown?
Yeah, the Bills have a 3.5 game lead in the division. I don't see anyone catching them this season. Miami, New York, and New England all have issues. Miami hasn't won on the road against Buffalo since 2016, Tim. I love the Bills at home.
Yeah, the Bills right now, Josh Allen, he is the co-favorite at DraftKings Sportsbook to win MVP along with Lamar Jackson. Minus 3,000. If you got the bankroll, there you go. The Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East. We will not see T. Higgins. He is out today for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're laying 7.5 here against the Las Vegas Raiders. I would imagine very popular teaser play. The Bengals down to 1.5 at home. Can they get on the right side of things here, Rich, off of last week's whooping at the hands of the Eagles?
Yeah, really. Can Burrow and the Bengals really salvage the season with a playoff run? That's the big question, I think, in Cincinnati. And can the Raiders avoid the turnovers and end the 4 games to get it? I trust the Bengals, Tim, more than I trust the Raiders at this point in the season. I like Cincinnati at home.
Cincinnati Bengals plus 115 to turn it around and make the playoffs. So if you buy that, you can go grab plus 115 in the betting market for them to make the postseason. Cleveland, did they turn their Stevens around last week, beating the Baltimore Ravens at home? What a performance we saw from Jameis Winston, albeit a bit fortunate there that Kyle Hamilton dropped what would have been a game-clinching interception. Market coming back in on the Chargers, getting them out to 2-point favorites. So what do you make of this one, Rich? Chargers, a 2-point road favorite at Cleveland today.
Tim, I'm just not sure if Jameis Winston will continue to sparkle or fizzle out versus his Chargers' top-ranked scoring defense. I love what I'm seeing from Justin Herbert, the Chargers offense. Herbert has gone 5 straight games without throwing an interception. I like the Chargers on the road.
I put the Cleveland Browns in a teaser up to 7.5. You can get them up to 8 now. Lowest total sitting there around 41.5. Hopefully Cleveland can stay competitive in that one. A game that you do have a bet on. You're looking at the dog in this one. Denver on the road at Baltimore. The Ravens off of that loss to the Cleveland Browns a week ago, sitting at 5-3. Still the favorite to win the AFC North. 9-point favorites, total 46.5, Rich, there in Baltimore today.
Yeah, Baltimore's top 2 in scoring and total offense, but bottom 10 in scoring and total defense, while Denver is 5-1 since week 3. Love Bo Nix and the Broncos defense, but don't think they have enough to take down the Ravens in Baltimore. But I do like them getting points. So I'm going to take the Broncos and the points against Baltimore.
I'm starting to make you a seasoned bettor here. I love it, Rich. Taking the points, riding with the dog. If I were to bet this game, I have not bet this game, but if I were to bet it, I would maybe look Ravens first half. They've struggled to close out games. I think they could get out to a good start here, -6.5 in the opening half. All right, New England and Tennessee. Will Levis, he is inactive. Drake May, he is active. Cleared concussion protocol yesterday. He will be the starter for the New England Patriots. Brent Musburger loves the fact that you could get the hook on the New England Patriots. He likes the Patriots on the road at Tennessee. Total sitting at 38.5, Rich, and that's the way you're looking at this one.
Yeah, this could be an ugly game. Both teams in the process of developing and evaluating the young quarterbacks. I'm not sure the Titans feel Will Levis is the future at the quarterback position. That's why they decided to go with Mason Rudolph today. And as for Drake May, they've got to do a better job protecting him, Tim. They've got to get better personnel at the wide receiver position. I'm taking the Titans because of their defense, but I really like the under in this game.
38.5. I took New England in a contest play. You're forced to make 5 picks in contests, so sometimes you got to take picks that you don't love. Like this one, Washington at New York. No Brian Robinson Jr. dealing with a hamstring injury, so make sure your fantasy lineups know that are planned accordingly, that Brian Robinson is out for this game. Could see an uptick in production from Austin Eckler. Washington coming off of the thrilling win last week over the Chicago Bears on a Hail Mary, and now they're 4-point favorites on the road at MetLife Stadium against the Giants.
Well, Tim, we just talked about it. The Commanders need to avoid a Hail Mary hangover, while the Giants need to snap a 6-game home losing streak and a touchdown drought. I think we haven't talked enough about the job that Dan Quinn has done with this Washington defense. They've gone 2 straight games where they've not allowed a touchdown. I love Jaden Daniels and the Commanders all day long.
The Washington Commanders 6-1-1 against the spread. Cover margin of 9.4 points per game. That is best in the NFL, tied with the Detroit Lions. I'm going to put the nose plug on my nose. I'm going to take the Giants plus the 4 here. Most public bet side at DraftKings, the Washington Commanders. I get it. Who wants to bet on the Giants? Apparently I do. Malik Neighbors, hopefully he can have a big day and could get us in the window there. Greg Joseph, by the way, the kicker for the Giants, inactive, and they will have a newbie kicking today. At least they'll have a kicker, unlike the first time these two teams played. The return of Derek Carr, and we talked to Derek Stevens about this game. 40 of the remaining 191 Circa Survivor entries are riding with the Saints on the road. They've got a 6-game losing streak. Carr is back. The Panthers are awful. What do we make of this one? Saints, a touchdown favorite on the road.
Well, remember what happened week 1. The Saints clobbered the Panthers 47-10. I believe they'll do it again today. They get Derek Carr back. He faces the league's worst defense. As for Bryce Young, he's lost 6 straight starts. Today will be his 7th. I really like the Saints on the road.
The game of the day, Rich, will happen at 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 local at Lambeau Field. We've talked about it a bunch. Jordan Love is good to go, but how healthy will he be? How effective will he be? The Detroit Lions have been tremendous against the spread, 6-1, covering by 9.4 points per game. I just mentioned they and the Commanders' best cover margin in the NFL. Detroit, a 2.5-point road favorite here, and Derek Stevens let us know that Circa Sports will be big cheeseheads today. They need the Packers in this spot.
Yeah, battle for first place in the NFC North. Jared Goff and the Lions' #1 offense versus the Packers' takeaway hungry defense. I'd probably feel different about this one, Tim, if I knew that Jordan Love was healthy. I mean, he may start the game and come out after the first series. You just don't know when a quarterback's dealing with a groin injury. Give me Detroit on the road.
All right, before we get out of here, in your backyard, Joe Flacco. He is now the full-time starter. Sunday Night Football. We'll be waiting all day for Sam Bradford. Wow, that's a blast from the past.
Darnold.
Sam Darnold, wow. Vikings, Colts. Rich, who you got tonight, Sunday Night Football?
I like the Vikings at home. Joe Flacco's a Delaware guy like myself, Tim. But look, this is a tough assignment to come off the bench and go against Brian Flores' blitz-happy defense. I think Aaron Jones is a big story in this one. I think the Colts have a very difficult time stopping the run. They get up over 150 yards a game on the ground. I like the Vikings on Sunday night.
That's Rich Gannon, 2002 NFL MVP. Catch him every Sunday here on the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show starting at 10 a.m. Thanks to Michael Lombardi, John Hansen, Brent Musburger, the GOAT, and Derek Stevens. Thanks to Bill, our producer, everyone behind the scenes here. Live Bet Sunday coming up next. It'll be hosted. You'll have Jeff Schwartz on that program, Wes Reynolds, so stick around for that. And then Ready, Set, Bet later on today. For Rich, I'm Tim. This has been the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone.
It's that magical time of year, the sports equinox, when all 4 major sports are in action.